Sawete omnes. Today we will be learning Chapter 3 of Wheelock, which includes the second declension, masculine nouns and adjectives, apposition, and word order. As you learned in the last video, the first declension is the declension for feminine nouns, or nouns that are feminine in form but masculine in gender. The second declension is for masculine and neuter nouns. Declension in the second declension is just like in the first. Base plus endings, only the endings are mostly different. They share the dative and ablative plural endings with the first declension. Today we will only be learning how to decline masculine second declension nouns. While most second declension masculine nouns have a nominative singular of us, there are a few that end in er. The nouns that end in er have some differences in their declension, and we'll get into that later. Masculine nouns that have a us in their nominative singular have the following endings. You should notice that these nouns do not have the same ending for the nominative singular and vocative singular. They have an e instead of an us. It is also important to note that nouns that end in ius, like filius and vergilius, and the adjective meus have a single long I for the vocative singular. It is very important that you memorize these endings. On the screen, you can see how this declension works with the noun amicus amici, which means friend. By adding those endings to the base of the noun, amic, you get the following forms. Amicus in the nominative singular, amici in the genitive singular, amico in the dative singular, amicum in the accusative singular, amico in the ablative singular, and amice in the vocative singular. For the plural, you get amici in the nominative plural, amicorum in the genitive plural, amicis in the dative plural, amicos in the accusative plural, amicis in the ablative plural, and amici in the vocative plural. Just like with the first declension, adjectives in the second declension must match their nouns in gender, case, and number. This agreement can be seen on your screen with the noun-adjective pair, amicus magnus. As I mentioned before, there are also second declension nouns that have the nominative singular ending er. The declension endings for these nouns are very similar to the us endings, except in the nominative and vocative singular. Here, these nouns follow the first declension nouns in that the nominative and the vocative singular are the same case ending, in this case, er. Where these nouns differ most, however, is in their bases. The difference in these bases can be seen on your screen. In some of these nouns, the e remains in the base. An example of this is puer, pueri. In others of these nouns, the e is dropped, as in the example auger, augri. This is why it is very important to make your base from the genitive singular of the noun. Nominatives are sometimes very tricky. Now I'll talk briefly about word order and apposition. I've already gone over Latin word order a little in the video for Chapter 1. However, now that you know all of the cases, we can add a little more detail. Now that we know all the cases, I can tell you that general word order is subject and its modifiers, indirect object and its modifiers, direct object and its modifiers, adverbial words and phrases, and then the verb. But as I mentioned in Chapter 1, this word order is not set in stone and many authors change it up. The second thing I want to mention is the appositive. Apposition is an explanatory equivalent. It is a noun phrase that gives a little more information about something in the sentence. In the example on your screen, filium meum gives you more information about gaium. Appositives always agree in case with their antecedent, the thing that they're referring back to, and sometimes gender and number, but not always. The story this week was written by Horace, who also wrote the passage from Worksheet 1. Quintus Horatius Flaccus was born on December 8th, 65 BC, and died on November 27th, 8 BC. He was the leading Roman lyric poet during the time of Augustus, but he also wrote satire, letters, and iambic poetry, which is poetry that is often insulting or obscene. One good example of this type of poetry are the poems in which he laments his inability to keep it up when faced with a not-so-attractive woman. Horace's patron, or person who provided for him so he could write poetry, was Maecenas, Augustus's right-hand man and patron of many other famous poets of the time, like Virgil. We get the phrase carpe diem from his poem, though it doesn't mean seize the day as it's usually translated, but pluck or pick the day. That's all for Chapter 3. Don't forget to post your forum posts by 11:59 p.m. on Friday. Take your quizzes by 11:59 p.m. on Saturday, and submit both worksheets for the week by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday. If you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to email me. Volete omnes!